of 2015 that is charting a course for excitement, joy, love, and prosperity in Akron. All right?
Here, here.
Okay. So, how many of you have never been to a Gaines meeting before? Raise your hand. All right. I'm really curious. By the way, I'm Sue Lacey. By the way, share with us why you decided to come tonight. Anybody? Speak up. Who has not been here before? Say it loud.
Meet some new people, make some connections.
Okay, meet new people, make some connections. Yep.
I feel like I'm in a higher calling of my life, and this is what it is.
Anybody else? Yeah.
Well, because you invited us, for one, and two, that we can be able to talk to people with like minds and see what we can do to help the Akron area.
Great. And I know you guys have a great idea cooking.
Yes.
You're trying to get some traction and figure out how you can be successful. Right?
Yes.
Which is a big part of what we're about. So for those of you who have been to Gaines meetings before, you know that we're all about promoting sustainability. Sustainable practices, sustainable businesses, sustainable community. And so we really thank those of you who have made now what is 2 years of continuous monthly gatherings to continue and build this conversation. And, by the way, it's being done with zero cash in foundation or corporate money. It's being done and supported by a group of volunteers who are on the planning team and also others who are coming and pitching in some really substantive and strategic ways. I want to reiterate that Gaines is a local gathering of sustainability practitioners who focus on advancing sustainable values and practices in the marketplace. So obviously this is a pretty casual setting. It's a salon. Even though we're going to have formal presentations tonight to set the stage for a dialogue, it will be a dialogue. So as our speakers share information on their program and services this evening, be thinking about questions that you have because we'll have opportunity to have a dialogue. Make sure that you purchase a drink. I'm sure you're all thirsty. And be kind to the bartender. All right? So, as I mentioned before, this month marks really launching a series of monthly meetings that really focus on supporting new entrepreneurs, people who have a passion, who have a brilliant idea, and I know there are many, including David Swirsky, who's in the room, right? David? For those of you who don't know, David was one of 5 finalists with the Night City Challenge. David? And I'm sure he'll get a chance to sort of talk about what his idea is that he's going to advance. But the bottom line is we have people in the room tonight who have great ideas. And the Gaines planning team is completely, totally committed this year to figuring out how we move the dial on supporting new entrepreneurs to launch, but not only to launch, to be successful. Because one of the things we know is that the majority of new startups tend to fail. And so part of what we're going to be talking tonight about is not only what programs and services are available, and we have new programs and services that are actually here in Akron and coming to Akron very soon. Oh, thank you. But we also want to get some good advice from our speakers this evening. Thanks. About, when you meet up with a challenge after you've launched, what are some of the lessons learned? that we need to keep in mind? What's advice for what you need to do to make sure you pay attention to the dynamics that are going on once you launch your business? Don't deny what's going on and figure out how you address it. And how is it that you can develop a plan and make sure you have the right partnerships and support to be successful over time? We hope that this is space every month that is always available for you to come and get support as you're launching and growing your business. So, this evening we have 3 speakers, and we have asked each of them to not only give us some basic information on their organization, their programs and services for startups, but also advice to increase the likelihood of success, and resources and opportunities for existing businesses. Some of you already have businesses that you're in the midst of. How do you figure out how you continue to grow it? So we'll be talking about those kinds of issues tonight as well. So I'd like to first ask Jim Griggy to come up. Jim is a certified business advisor for the Small Business Development Center. It's a small business administration program that offers pre-venture, startup, growth, and problem-solving services. Jim and I had a little conversation when he arrived tonight. Turns out, half an hour before we arrived, we were in the same elevator coming downstairs at the small business, or the Global Business Accelerator. I'm like, I know that guy. And I think he introduced my business partner and I some years ago to our accountant, who is an amazing accountant, but also an amazing business advisor because he's really invested in our success. So we felt that it would be good to start the conversation tonight with Jim because he can provide some of the basics for when you're contemplating starting up a business. What do you need to think about, and what are the resources that you have available? Jim?
Great.
You don't have to stand on this stuff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Strangers meeting in the elevator. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere, huh? How are you all doing tonight? Well, my name is Jim Griggy, and I'm a certified business advisor with the Small Business Development Center. We live in the Akron Global Business Accelerator, so if you know where that's at, that's where our office is located. How many of you are familiar with what the Small Business Development Centers do and how we're structured? Okay, we got a couple people, and those are familiar faces. So I'm going to start by just defining us. How's that? Small Business Development Centers exist throughout every state in the United States and U.S. territories. On a federal level, we're funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration. And so when we talk to small businesses, we use the SBA definition of a small business, which right now is pretty generous. Anybody up to $15 million in net asset holding or 500 employees. So now, not to scare you off with that number, most of the businesses that I deal with maybe have up to a half dozen people, and if they have a scale of economy in the 6 figures, they're lucky. So, don't think you're too small for me. That would be the wrong message to take away. But we do work with businesses up to some pretty good sizes. The U.S. SBA contracts with an entity in every state to make sure our services are available in that state. When you see some of my trade dress, you'll see that it's got the Ohio State logos all over it. On a state level, we are funded by the Ohio Development Services Agency. And so part of our funding comes from Ohio DSA, which used to be the Ohio Department of Development. And then Ohio DSA turns around and says, okay, now how do we make sure SBDC services are available throughout the state? And so they contract with local entities to make sure that our services are available to all the communities in the state. And so, My office is held by the Summit Medina Business Alliance, which is a wholly government-owned corporation that's owned by county and local governments to be able to provide services. So I can literally say I'm from the government and I'm here to help, because trust me, from the paperwork, I report to all levels of government. But our office covers Summit, Medina, and Portage counties. As I said, we're located in the Accelerator. Our services are free of charge. So let me tell you about those services. So that's really what you care about, right? Okay. We work with small businesses from cradle to grave. From people who show up and say, hey, I've got this idea, I know it can be a business, but I don't know what's involved in taking it from idea to business. So I work with a lot of people in that kind of a startup mode that really need to help test their idea and see if it's worthy of creating a business around it. And then I work with small startup businesses that just want to make sure that they're in compliance with everybody, that they haven't skipped some paperwork or neglected some sort of organization and going to catch them in trouble later. Then we work with very successful small businesses who say, hey, we had this set of goals in front of us, we met our goals. Now we want to bring in a new product or develop a new market. Can you help us figure out how to take the next step to expand this thing? And finally, we work with businesses that are looking at their leading indicators and, well, they're not leading in the right direction. And so they come and say, hey, can you give another pair of eyes to us? Help us see what's going on. Can we right this ship before we have a catastrophic failure? We do that. We primarily deploy our services in two ways. One way is through workshops and seminars. And I have a couple of handouts, and they're over at the table that Ryan's sitting at. So Ryan, if you've waved to everybody. My handouts are over there. One of them is our workshop and seminar schedule for the year. So feel free to pick that up. It has all of our regular workshops. On the first Wednesday of every month, I do a business basics workshop. And that's for people that have ideas that want to take them into business. We talk about the considerations of starting a business. Every other month, and the next one is tomorrow, my director, Mary Ann Jasanowski, does a seminar on how to write a business plan. And then once a quarter, I do a workshop called Numbers Demystified, which is how to read financial statements. I've been with the SBDC for 7 years now. When I first started, I quickly realized that most small business people have no clue what their financial statements are telling them. And so the Numbers Demystified is designed to help business owners get real manageable, action-oriented information out of their financials, and so that they can do more than just look at the bottom line and see if it's positive or negative. And we do free business consulting. You can come to my office for an appointment. It's by appointment only, but it's free. You can come to my office for an appointment, or if you've got an existing business, I can go to your business and talk to you there. There is no limit to my time as long as we're making progress. I can't become your employee on the government payroll, but I can certainly give you advice at any stage that you want. And I'll just give you a couple points on, that's really who the Small Business Development Centers are. By the way, we have a special workshop next week. This is next Thursday. Just say no to taxes. And we're really lucky. We have Scott Shields of Shields and Blyce accounting firm who's going to present that. And that will be next Thursday, a week from tomorrow, from 3 to 6. If you want to attend that, there are brochures at the table. And you need to call and let our admin know that you're coming. There's no charge, but we keep a head count for materials and capacity. So, how many of you are thinking about starting a business and you're not quite there yet? Okay, a few of you. This is the 15-minute or the 10-minute version of a workshop that takes me 3 hours to present every month. But I will tell you that the first thing I would want you to do if you're serious about starting a business is to just get out a legal pad, or if you have an electronic device you prefer to use instead of a legal pad, that's fine too. And I want you to make a list. What do I have to put into this business? How much money is sitting there that I already have that's available for that business? What kind of major equipment do I have that I can put into this business? Do I have a place for this business, or do I need one? What kind of small tools and supplies do I have? And finally, what talents and skills do I possess that are a good fit for this business, that will be necessary for this business? And then there's list 2. After you figure out what you've got, start to write down what you think you need. How much money do you think you need? You won't know for sure until you get some financial projections together, but you'll have an idea what some of the major costs are. What kinds of equipment and supplies do I need? What kind of skill sets do I need that I don't possess? Maybe you're not the guy that likes to go out and market, and somebody's got to sell the product or service, so, that's a consideration. But do your lists. And everybody wants to jump right from that to the money. And that's wrong. The next thing we need to look at is sustainability. And it's sustainability in kind of a different sense than you talk about sustainability in this room. I look at financial sustainability. So I have the resources to put this business together. Is there enough business out there to support it once it's open? I can tell you stories of people that have great ideas, but they were terrible business ideas because the market would be saturated within a year or two and no place for them to go. So is there enough business? Is there enough demand? Is there enough room in the marketplace for someone providing the service or product that you have? And we have tests that we can talk about for how you look at that. But that's the next question. So you look at, what do I have? What do I need? Is there a customer base? Is there a business base to support what I want to do? And then we get into the numbers. And I can help you with that. But that's really kind of the flow chart. And I can talk for hours, but I know we have 2 other speakers. So I think that I will turn the floor over to my colleagues here. And then if you have questions, I'll certainly be available to answer your questions.
How many of you, before Jim's presentation, even knew that the SBDC existed, let alone its services are free? Probably 25% of the people that are in here. So often, there are resources that we have no idea they're right under our nose. So that was one of our intentions tonight, to uncover one of the resources that's incredibly valuable, obviously. I wish I would have had that conversation that way 15 years ago. Okay, so let's say that you've got your idea, you've begun to work with Jim, and you know that you need some money. You need a loan, you need some investment. One of the things that we wanted to highlight tonight, in addition to what already exists, is some of the new resources that are available in Akron. And our next speaker, Chris Faircloth, has been in the lending industry for some time. He lives here in Akron, I think Highland Square, right? All right. And the Economic Development and Community Institute tapped him to be a local resource, the Akron Lending Manager. So EDCI provides small loan lending and technical assistance programs that support entrepreneurs and neighborhood businesses. So we thought that this would be another resource that would be really important for not only new startups, but businesses that are already in place that might need some financial assistance. So I know Chris has already been busy, has already been making some loans. Chris, come on up.
It's like on the Price is Right. It's like, Chris, come on down. Congratulations. So, but the first thing I would say is that one of the first things I tell people that come in that are starting a new business and would like funding from us is that we need a business plan and a well-done one at that. And one of the things that people get stuck on is the projections part, because most people don't like to do the numbers. And I always say, you know what, I know a guy who loves to help people with the projections. And I always say you, and I say, no, Jim Briggy at the SBDC. Go talk to him. So we already utilize Jim, and he does phenomenal work, so I can vouch for that. But anyway, as was said, my name is Chris Fairclough. I'm the manager of lending for the Akron office of ECDI, which stands for Economic and Community Development Institute. The office here in Akron is actually brand new. I've been telling people I didn't get furniture until the 25th, so it was kind of harsh sitting on the floor until then. But we did get the ball rolling. ECDI is a 10-year-old nonprofit. They're a SBA microlender, and actually the third largest SBA microlender in the country, so that's pretty impressive, I think. And they also have offices in Cleveland and Toledo, and now in Akron. So I'm really excited to be the person to take the helm here and get the ball rolling as far as helping people get business financing here in Akron. Is there a clicker? Or
I think it's right here, Chris.
Oh, it's right in front of my face? What do I do?
Somebody know how to use the clicker?
On the computer, the enter key on the
Oh, just on the computer.
All right, that'll work.
You got it. You're on.
All right. If I get out of the way.
High tech here.
Very tech savvy. So anyway, since our creation in 2004, ECDI has assisted in the startup and expansion of more than 2,000 businesses and created and retained more than 4,500 jobs. As I mentioned, we're the third largest SBA microloan and intermediary lender in the U.S. We are a community development financial institution. So what that means is that we're not actually a bank. We're a separate institution. We are a nonprofit, and we get money from various entities to lend out, to do community lending, to fill in the gap for businesses and startups that otherwise wouldn't get financing from banks, whether it's just you're in what's considered to be a high-risk industry, and for most people, they would think high risk is something really scary, and actually in banking terms, high risk can be a restaurant, it can be a bar like on Cork, it could be a trucking company, or it could be a neighborhood grocery store. All those things are considered to be high risk in the banking world, so that's actually our bread and butter. We do serve all 88 counties in Ohio, and we have I think 45 loan funds at this point coming from different places. So we actually get money from different entities to lend out. So instead of just going to the bank and taking money and lending it back out, we actually get money directly from the SBA, like Jim was talking about. We get money from Huntington Bank, believe it or not, and PNC Bank to do some of their community lending. And then in other areas, we get money from local governments like the city of Cleveland, Cuyahoga County, to help lend money out in the communities there. And I'm hoping we can duplicate that process here in Akron. So everyone call the city and the county and say, hey, give those guys some money to lend out. I'm holding you all to that. So what we do, as I said, is that we lend out money. We start at $500. So if anyone's trying to get a loan at a bank and you walk in and say, hey, I want to borrow $500, they usually say, we don't really do that. Get out of here. So we actually start at $500, which I think is very helpful for people that just want to start very small, maybe something out of their house, or if you just want to go buy, I don't know, a hot dog cart and get something going in the neighborhood. We go up to $75,000 for startups. So a startup for us would be anyone that's been in business 3 years or less. So you actually could have a little bit of experience, but just not a whole lot. And for existing businesses, over 3 years, we go up to $350,000 potentially if you did need that amount of money. Again, we are a CDFI. In 2014, ECDI originated almost $5 million to local small businesses throughout the state of Ohio. So we think that's pretty exciting, and those are businesses that otherwise most likely wouldn't have been able to get funding. One of the questions we ask people that come in that need our funds are, have you been turned down by a bank before? And so if they haven't, we'll either send them to a bank first so they can go through that channel, or if it's pretty apparent that they're not going to be approved just based on what we know of the lending industry, then we will go ahead and work with them. But we're not trying to compete with banks. If you're bankable, we'd like you to go there. And we have a limited amount of funds to lend out, so we want to make sure that those funds are going to people that really need it. So how we leverage the funds that we get. ECDI estimates that every dollar of money lent is leveraged at least $2 to $3 from other funds. So we're getting 2 to 3 times the benefit of what we're lending out. As loan principal is repaid, it will be relent and releveraged with additional loan funds. And so that increases the impact of the one-time investment that we get. So if we have an organization that gives us money, if things go the way that they're supposed to go, we lend it out, and then we get that back and we lend it out again over and over and over again to continue creating jobs and businesses in the community. Leveraging funds with other sources makes ECDI's dollars go further, creating more businesses and jobs. So that's what we're all about. I feel like everyone's going to have a really good image of like the side of my head just from seeing me step in front of this thing every time. So the process of approval, what we do. We don't approve a client loan simply on the basis of credit score. So we're really character driven. Unlike going to a bank, there's not really a box that you fit in or don't fit in. So I think a lot of people have had the experience of going to a bank and them saying, oh, I'm sorry, you don't have a 680 credit score, we can't help you. So what's really unique about ECDI compared to other banks is that, or compared to banks, is that when people come in, we look and say, well, if your credit score is a 600, why is it a 600? You just say, oh, well, my wife had cancer, we had lots of medical debt, we couldn't afford to pay the bills. We're really not going to penalize you for that because I don't know about you, but I don't have 150 grand sitting around so I can pay unexpected medical bills. You? No?
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were saying, yeah, like, yeah, sure, I got that covered. So it's really nice to be able to go and have those conversations with potential clients and not just kick someone out the door because they don't meet a certain arbitrary figure. So on the other hand, we can talk to people and say, hey, why do you have a 600 credit score? And they say, oh, you know what, I skipped my mortgage payment for 3 months because I wanted to go to the Bahamas. And then we say, you are probably not the client for us, I'm sorry. So as we work on things, we do cover debt service coverage, collateral, deliverable cash flow, all sorts of fun things that most people don't really want to think about. That Jim was going back to talking about where people don't actually know what their financial statements really mean. But when you go to get a loan, those are things that are important. And of course, chatting with Jim, if you're not familiar, will help you understand what we look at. But it's very nice, again, we're very flexible with the things that we look at. So if you maybe have a lot of experience and have a good credit score but don't have a lot of collateral or things to back your loan, we still would be interested in working with you, just for example. So we try to look at all the factors that go into making a loan. And when you add it all together, do we say, is it likely that this person is going to be a good steward of the funds that we're lending them? Are they going to be able to repay it? And if the answer is yes, then most likely we would lend to you. So it's very nice to be in part of an organization that's really character driven and has a lot of area to look to say yes instead of finding ways to say no.
Have you been pressing that?
I don't know. I hit some buttons. Things changed. The really cool thing about ECDI that we haven't quite gotten going here in Akron because our office is only 2 months old, we have a very comprehensive training package for clients. So not only do we help people get lending ready, so if they come to us and they say, hey, I'm at the front end of the process, I have this idea, I think I need some money to do it, what do I do? So we'll go through and work with them. We've actually hired a new training manager in the Cleveland office that will cover Cleveland and Akron. We'll have workshops that people can take to learn about what they need to do to get ready. And of course, we partner with different resources in the community, Small Business Development Center being one. So we can send people out and say, hey, go talk to Jim. He can help you put together your business plan, your projections, and then come back. And we can use that to get your loan going for you. So the really neat thing about ECDI on top of that is that we don't only give people information and help up front, we guide them through the whole process. So we actually meet back with clients on a regular basis after they've gotten the loan to make sure that things are still going well with the business, see if there's any areas that can be improved upon, and that way we can mitigate any problems that may happen to come up down the road and keep a small problem from becoming a big problem, and then keep your business going. Are we doing on time?
You're good.
All right. SEED is one of the education programs that we have, Small Enterprise Education Development Training Series, and basically that's to help people expand their business knowledge. I'm not going to delve too far into that today just because we actually aren't able to offer that in the office just now because we're getting the ball rolling here. But that is one of the programs that we do have. And Growth Wheel is another one that we make use of, and once we get things rolling a little bit further, we'll be able to do a little bit more. I don't know. Doug, Doug is our director of marketing, who graciously came up to Columbus to hang out with us this evening.
Hi, everybody. I would like to say this is the coolest event I've ever been to. Nothing like this in Columbus. So, I'd like to say for all trainings. We just looked at seed and we looked at growth wheel. These programs we offer starting in August here in the Akron office. We'll be starting in the end of January. We'll have an information session in our Cleveland office, and then our new training manager in Cleveland will start these trainings. And this training is available for our Akron clients, and they will just have to travel to Cleveland until August. We apologize about that. It's just, the saga of opening a new office, I should say. We talked about some loan stuff. We are 10 years old and deployed about $22 million into the state of Ohio, based in Columbus, with a very low default rate, 3.8%. Cleveland market opened 3 years ago in March and has a 1% default rate. That's because, as Chris mentioned, it's the ongoing one-on-one technical assistance we provide before, during, and after a loan, and really being there and working with partners. So it's amazing, and we are so thrilled to be in Akron, and stay tuned for training, guys.
And the nice thing to mention here, with it being a default rate of only 3.8%, a lot of people don't have a frame of reference for that. But one way to look at it is 100% of those people were turned away from a bank to get a loan to start or grow their business. So when you think about that, those are people the bank said, no, we can't work with you for one reason or another, you don't fit the box. And out of all of those people, only 3.8% of them actually ended up defaulting with us. So there's a huge market the banks have missed that we're able to finally fill, particularly here in Akron. So that's fantastic, I think. And we do offer small business coaching, business plan reviews, loan readiness, et cetera, again, somewhat limited just because I don't have a huge staff, but as we go forward and add staff, we'll be able to do that. And of course, we do partner, again, small business development centers, Urban League, SCORE. We try to partner with all of those organizations so we're not reinventing the wheel. So even if we're not able to do it in the office at this time, we have other partners that can help you out. We all work together to better the entrepreneurial community in Akron. And so just some examples of organizations that we've chatted with. I've been up to the Akron Urban League. We're coordinating with them. They actually have a small loan fund themselves, and so we're working to partner with them as far as either collaborating on loaning out money, or perhaps in a situation where they may not have enough money and may exceed the amount they can loan, or other interesting situations that may arise. They can pass along that information to us, and we can take up where they left off. And also in that situation to help people with entrepreneurship programs, that sort of thing that they have, so we can assist their clients there. We've chatted with the University of Akron Law School Seed Clinic, which for those of you who aren't familiar, a big part of what they do is they assist with business contracts. So I think for $300, they give you 8 hours worth of FaceTime and unlimited assistance there, which if anyone has ever chatted with a lawyer, it's like $300 for like 5 minutes. So it's a pretty good deal. So we've worked out being able to refer our clients back and forth with them. Also, we're attempting to work with the Better Block committee in North Hill, which is coming up in May. One thing that I proposed to the crew there, which I'm also a part of, is to have ECDI evaluate any of the pop-up shops that may come up at that event. If they would like to continue on as a full-fledged business beyond that, continue permanently, that we could evaluate funding for them to see if we could give them enough money to continue on going, which I think is one of the goals of the Better Block Project, if you guys are familiar with that. And then finally, since opening in late November 2014, ECDI's Akron office, we've had $385,000 in our pipeline to 7 small businesses. So what that means is those are businesses that we've already chatted with. We've gotten all their information together. We sent them to underwriting, and so we're currently considering or have already approved their loans just within the last 2 months. And we've also consulted with over 25 local entrepreneurs, and that's been me meeting with clients to discuss maybe they need funding now, maybe they need assistance with a business plan, or all things in between. So we've really been able to do a lot in a very short amount of time. I think it really gives a glimpse into how much of a need there is and how much of an interest there is in starting small businesses and growing small businesses in the Akron area.
Wow, awesome.
I think it's at the end of the road for my show. All right. Well, thank you.
So follow the progression here, guys. So you got Jim, who can really help you think through the basic questions, right? Whether you're contemplating starting a new business, or you're in the midst of, you got to deal with some issues in your current business. Chris can give you some of that same support, but what I hear you saying, Chris, just so we can follow along, is that you need a business plan when somebody comes to you, right?
That is 100%.
Can you talk about that just a little before we move on?
Sure.
What do you mean?
Sure. Doug, I see you waving your hand over there.
Well, we have three phases of a client. I like to say we have phase one, which is our napkin client. Like Chris and I might go to lunch and we might decide that we're going to open a chicken and waffle cart to serve to the University of Akron students at 2 in the morning. And I'm going to make $1 million. I'm probably not going to make $1 million. But I would go to ECDI and, hopefully Chris would say, no, you're not going to make $1 million. That's not a great idea. But he would recommend me to people like Jim. Maybe say, go to an info session at ECDI in Cleveland or training, and we will have training here. So go through a training series. And that is a phase one. Phase two client could be someone that maybe has a corporate job right now that's looking to go into their own business, or maybe has a home business, could be a cake designer or a cake decorator. And would have a business plan, but it might not be completed all the way. Again, partners and our training. Phase three is an existing client that's looking to expand and grow. They might have a business plan, but it might not be completely current, especially if you started your business 25 years ago. Who is a small business owner in the room? Anybody? Is your business plan up to date? No. So, my three phases.
There you go. There's Doug's three phases, which I would agree with. Yes, if you're a startup, we would need a business plan before we can move forward. And for those are you guys familiar with what a business plan actually is? I know Jim, I think, touched on that pretty good amount there. But really, you need to cover all the basics of about you, what experience you have, what market you're going to serve, who your competition is, how many people in the neighborhood are doing the same thing that you are. So if you're moving on a block with 5 other pastry shops and you want to open a pastry shop, we might look at that and say, you have a good idea, but maybe this isn't the location for it. But really the important part is the financial projections. If you have a business that hasn't started yet, we really have nothing to base a concept of whether you're able to repay that loan or not, other than the projections that you would provide in your business plan, which hopefully are realistic, and give us an idea of how much money you're going to make, or you think you're going to make, how much, what kind of expenses you're going to have, and what you're going to have at the end of the day, and once you have this loan, will you be able to pay it back? So, I mean, it's very simplified, but that gives us an idea of what you're going to be doing, hopefully it's close to what you've come up in your projections, and then we can base our approval or denial off of that. So it's very important to have a good business plan, and again, I refer back to Jim, who is business plan extraordinaire over there. It's okay, take a bow.
I mean, think about the resource, the new resource we now have in Akron. It's awesome. So I want to introduce Angie Kilgore now, who's Senior Recruiter for Entrepreneurial Talent for Jumpstart. Jumpstart is an organization that's been around for a while. I'm sure she'll give you a little background. Provides intensive high-impact assistance to Northeast Ohio founders, meaning people who start their businesses, leading high-potential early-stage companies, working one-on-one with entrepreneurs to establish and achieve value-creating milestones of growth. I'll leave it to her to talk about what their services include, but I think, was Vadex one of the companies that you guys worked with? Do you know?
There are so many, and I'm going to be honest, I do not know all of them. So
yeah. I'm pretty sure Vadex might have been. Jim, you think probably?
They're not all of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know we have Notice as one of ours. That's another one.
Okay.
So.
Which, Jim, did you work with the guys at Vadex initially? Just so that we have a little context, this is a huge business that, got its humble beginning right here in Akron. Can you just give a little background on Vadex so that we have a sense of how Jumpstart can assist, a business of that magnitude?
Well, I can't speak to how they're funded and how much money they brought. They've gotten funding. That's confidentiality. But I can just for a second give you their premise. Are you familiar with what Vadex does? Vadex has a really novel idea. The gentleman that founded the company is out of the oil and gas industry in Texas. And he and his peers have found a way to take dirty waste plastics and through a process that they have invented and evolved, turn that into crude oil, reverse it back into sweet crude, and then they can sell that to any organization that buys low-grade crude oil, which, if you know anything about, I'm sure in an organization that's environmentally sensitive, you know that plastic has been a real problem for the environment because once it's plastic, it's hard to do anything else with it. And so they found a way to reverse it back into oil. And they found a way not to just do this, they've had a pilot for a while. They have found a way to do this on a production scale, like taking in municipal trash from municipalities and converting back to crude oil. They've got their first live plant is over by Waterloo and Kelly Road that's going to open later this year. And they've got some arrangements to work in other markets as well. But pretty incredible and long struggle for them, but they've got some good funding. They've had Jumpstart support both financially and with some of their advisors as well.
So I just wanted to mention that so that you're aware of the kind of support that Jumpstart has already provided for a group of people here in our own community that is really a pretty amazing business that could not have done this without the support of Jumpstart. So Angie?
Thank you so much. And I'm recently a new, Akron person. I moved here last year with my husband. He went to the University of Akron. I went to Youngstown State. But really, yay! But I'm loving to get involved here now more with the different initiatives. Oh, there you go. I'm not used to using a microphone. I'm pretty loud to begin with, but so I'm really excited to get involved a lot more and meet many of you. So I have a nice presentation here that has a lot of specifics, a lot of numbers. I was originally going into accounting, so I am kind of a numbers person, but we're not going to get too much caught up in those. But definitely, I'd like to talk about talent too. Everybody talks about there's always a war on talent and job creation. That's actually what my role is with Jumpstart. I'm their senior recruiter, so we have our entrepreneurial talent division that I'm part of. I just started with the organization actually last March, so I'm going on a year. So again, fairly new. The organization itself has been around since 2004, so we're going on our 11th year, and we have just so much knowledge that we've brought to the table, and not only in Cleveland. Sometimes people are like, oh, they're only involved with Cleveland. That's not true at all. Just to point out what we just mentioned here, we have some other companies that I'll note here in this presentation that are in the Akron Global Business Accelerator. So really exciting, and if I'm not the right person to connect you, many people with Jumpstart, we're almost about 50 people in our organization, so if you have questions after, I'll be sure to get you in touch with the right person there. So starting off with our mission, just to get started, how many people have not heard of Jumpstart before today? Okay, that's great. That makes me happy, because a lot of times people are like, oh, I already know what you guys do, but there's so much that we do. So ultimately, to tie all these things in, our mission is strengthening our economic vitality in Northeastern Ohio and the United States by helping communities realize their entrepreneurial potential. And that's another piece too, not only Northeastern Ohio. As I mentioned, we've been around now for over 10 years as a nonprofit, and we have a lot to bring to the table. So we're going out throughout the U.S. and kind of selling, consulting our services and what we've done here in the region, and helping other townships and regions also take advantage of that knowledge to create this entrepreneurial success and help with small businesses in the area. Here are those numbers that I talked about. So recent Northeastern Ohio startup results. You'll notice we have John Grimm here, President and CFO of Notice. That's also a very successful startup. A nice number that we have here, 5,147. That's the total Northeastern Ohio jobs created, retained, and supported by Jumpstart, our network, since 2004. So pretty impressive number there. So we're staying pretty busy. 558 million, that's the revenue collected or collectively generated by Jumpstart's client companies since 2004. Another big number here, 424 million total economic benefit Ohio generated by 245 clients in 2013. So pretty recent number there. And then also we have 656 total equity capital raised by Jumpstart clients since 2010. So what does that mean? It means we've been pretty busy. We've been doing some great things and provide some great numbers there for the region. Here are the characteristics of our target clients. So when we're talking about who we are working with primarily, and as we went through our list here of speakers, we really are working with those startups as well as scale-ups. That's been a really major initiative, end of last year, especially going to this year. And they have a lot of similar characteristics, but there's some differences. Typical, as many as you know, with the startups, they are pre-revenue. They're still maybe developing their technology and still validating the market. The sectors that Jumpstart will look for with our clients, we really want that IT, the biomedical, energy, electronics. That's really what we're mostly investing in and working with those organizations. Also with the startups, there's $1 billion plus in market potential and patentable technology. And also that they have an experienced team or at least a coachable entrepreneur. So coachable is a big word there. We don't need someone coming in that's completely set in their ways, like, nope, this is the way I'm doing my business. As we know, we have a lot of assistants here, and there's always different ways to look at things. So our venture partners are experts, subject matter experts, really will help with that coaching aspect. So the difference here with the scale-ups, these are small businesses that are already in existence. They're already bringing in revenue, but they just have high potential for growth. So meaning, they're ready for a new phase of their business. We will have the same focus with the type of industries. However, we're expanding with the scale-ups to include manufacturing, food, not restaurants though, unfortunately, and then non-tech is also okay. Most of these companies are existing with sales of 500,000 and above, so definitely that larger scale, but still a small business. Of the employees being 4 to about 99 is our target there. And then for the different services that we offer, I won't dig into every single one of these, but access to capital is why we're around and what we help with. Sales acceleration, growth assistance, recruiting talent, that's me, I'm part of that division, marketing and coaching and mentoring. And I have a fun story with our marketing group too, because sometimes it's just getting your word out or maybe helping with a specific pitch. We have a core group of a very, very talented team, and how many people are Shark Tank fans out there? A lot. How many people watch that? If you don't watch it, you need to. But great show. But out in the Cleveland area, though, out in Avon Lake, Bubba's Barbecue. Anybody venture out there? You guys like those ribs? Pretty good place. I love it. My family, whenever they come in town, we go out there. But it's really cool. They were actually on Shark Tank, and Jumpstart's marketing team provided all the collateral and helped them with their pitch. So very interesting there. It wasn't the restaurant, so I don't want to confuse anybody. It was more for their technology. He had a patent for how he debones the ribs. So very interesting there, but really cool to say, hey, we were a piece of that too. So just one small example of perhaps the marketing service that we offer for these startups and scale-ups. And then this is really where, Akron definitely comes into, and you may have heard of many of these organizations, but this is a look at our 15 network partners. So, Jumpstart is one of a whole entrepreneurial network of different support. So we mentioned many times the Akron Global Business Accelerator. Do you guys call that AGBA? We say AGBA a lot around us, so I don't know. Maybe we just make up names for all these groups. But we have, also the University of Akron Research Foundation, Northeastern Ohio Medical University, Bio Innovation, so a variety here, and again, a lot of them with their core here in Akron, which is great. So love those different support groups there in our network partners. And then for the scale-up ecosystem, we have Cleveland Plus, BioEnterprise, Jobs Ohio, you'll see a whole list of them there, as well as the Greater Akron Chamber. So these are the organizations that work more so with those scale-ups. And as for the services framework that we have with scale-ups, we really have designed offerings in 2 levels of service. So we have full engagement. So with these scale-up companies, we will help with the talent, the sales, as well as capital. Another aspect that we could get into is the pay-for-performance success fee-based engagement, and those engagements run from $15,000 to $50,000. So just kind of a look at what we could do and how we work with these different groups. And I'm glad that we had Chris up here talking. So CDFI, we mentioned that during this presentation. Who remembers what CDFI is? Have a little quiz.
Community development?
Yep, Community Development Financial Institution. So this is actually a new piece for Jumpstart as well. So great to hear that we are also offering this as part of our organization. Again, Chris did a great job describing, it's not those that would definitely go to a bank. It's mostly those that would not get approved. But we have, different metrics as well. If you want to be, have a fund get lending from our CDFI. It's very new as well. We just brought Michael Jeans in. He came from the banking industry, so knows it very, very well. Great subject matter expert, and he can answer all of your questions with that. I helped with the recruiting of him, so he's a great guy, and definitely would love to talk to you if you guys are interested in that piece too, and kind of compare the differences, because we are working here in Cleveland and Akron with the CDFI. And then our product offerings. So here's the loan sizes. We don't have a $500 one, so go to Chris for that. But it is definitely a little bit different here. We have loan products that are designed to provide capital to finance growth. 200,000 to 500,000, 200 to 750,000, and 100,000 to 750,000. So all the details we have, and we do have this all on our website too. And again, to get more in depth or schedule a meeting, Michael Jeans would love to come out and talk to you or visit our office, whichever, to get more into that aspect. And then, last but not least, I mentioned our website because there is so much on there. If you fall in love with our website over the next month or so, if you're digging around on there, we are going to be changing it up a little bit. So don't get shocked if you visit in a month or so and it might be a little different. We're going to hopefully make it a little easier to navigate, especially with our different focuses going into the new year too. But if you want to apply, if you want to see, hey, does your business qualify, or maybe even if you want to apply for our mentoring program, we have that as well, and that's for organizations that aren't necessarily ready to go to market yet, or they're still putting together their business plan. We do have a mentoring process too that's really, really successful. And then we have e-zines, so our electronic magazines there. We have Tech Talents, which our leader of our entrepreneurial talent group, Jeremy Quinn, writes a lot of articles there. I help out too, so that's a great thing to sign up for, as well as just our general one. There's specific areas that our e-zines go out for, so sign up for those if you're interested. And then we have events across the region that we're affiliated with and we get connected with. How many people heard of Tech Pint? You guys heard of Tech Pint? Okay, they actually had one recently down at Musica a couple months ago that I was able to attend. So another really unique, very similar to this venue, different type of atmosphere. And when you go, everybody gets a pint of beer. So I can't enjoy that now. I have another 2 months to go with my pregnancy. But it's definitely a nice event. So another unique thing going on. So hopefully that sheds some light or maybe a refresher for some on what we do here at Jumpstart, and looking forward to interacting with all of you and answering any other questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Angie. So clearly yet another level of support. And I just want to say that, well, within the coming weeks or so, we expect that there'll be some additional resource that Jumpstart will be able to provide to our community. So we'll keep you up to date with that, and we're excited about it and see these resources that we've highlighted tonight really working synergistically to support you.